Para mí Crank era una de las películas de acción más extrañas que de alguna forma mezclaba bastante el humor justamente con las escenas de acción de Jason Statham. Pude hablar con su guionista y con su director que me explicó un poco el origen de toda esta historia que al parecer está muy pero muy anclada en el GTA. También me contó cuáles fueron los mayores desafíos técnicos y cómo fue probar hacer una película con cámaras que quizás están más asociadas al consumo o al uso cotidiano. Todo esto en este informe de Crank.
We now return to Mira Akian and Contre with our latest interview.
When we first made Crank, we didn't know what we were doing. We had no clue, you know, so it was like just making it up as we were like learning on the job, basically. And you learn by making mistakes, and you learn by things getting fucked up.
They gave you the Beijing cocktail. It's cutting off your adrenaline. If you stop, you die.
I read a lot about Grand Theft Auto as a reference for the movie. How did you match? How did you connect the game with the movie?
Well, it's a similar. Grand Theft Auto is. I mean, I love Grand Theft Auto, right? So that would have been the dream, is to do the GTA movie.
Yeah.
They don't want to do a movie, so that would have been the dream, you know. But the attitude. Well, there's a couple things. First of all, the way the character just sort of like, it's all around the one character, and he's just moving through this world on a mission. And anything that gets in his way just gets smashed. Yeah. He'll pull somebody out of a car, he'll get into the car. That's all very GTA kind of stuff. Just aesthetically, you know, we put him in a tracksuit because the guy in GTA are a tracksuit. And actually, in the Happy Season 2, when we switched Chelios from his overcoat that he had in wintertime to the Hawaiian shirt, the Hawaiian shirt is even a throwback to GTA Vice City.
Wait! Now come on. Your whole crew is history.
We had these cameras, these little Sony cameras about that big. They were the smallest camera at the time. And I think they shot like 720p. They looked pretty bad, but we were taking those cameras and just bolting them onto pieces of speed rail. So doing like, you know, bullet time stuff that you can run around with it. And it's a lot of stupid things, you know. But it would have been, we were definitely shooting like GoPro stuff before there was such a thing as a GoPro.
Yeah.
Imagine what we could have done with GoPro.
Yeah.
The unidentified man behind today's mayhem is making a last stand.
We had a stunt double. I mean, so he did 90% of his stunts. I mean, he loves to do them. So the only stuff he won't do is the stuff that insurance literally will not let him do.
Yeah.
You know, we had that gag where the guy flies off the motorcycle. You know, he's doing a standee on a motorcycle, flies up. We needed a double for that. He was a kid who actually, like, he wasn't even a professional stuntman. He was just a guy who did, you know, kind of like crazy motorcycle videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because we wanted like a real guy, you know. And but yeah, you know, Jason would do 90% of it. You know, obviously at the end of Crank 1, the helicopter. You know, that wasn't a CG scene. Well, when he falls out, it's a CG thing. But Jason hanging out of the helicopter over Los Angeles, it's a real helicopter, it's a real actor. He's got one cable holding him onto the helicopter. That was all real. And, you know, he did his own driving. He's a great driver. He's as good as any of the stunt drivers. Obviously, all of his own fighting. He's good.
You have iconic sex scenes on the movies, how's preparing them, shooting them, and making like respectful for the actors, but funny at the same time.
Yeah, well, obviously it was more challenging on the first one. You know, a lot of people doubted that scene in the first one, the Chinatown scene. Even the studio didn't want to shoot that scene. You know, they thought people would think it was a rape scene. They thought it would be kind of dark.
Yeah.
And we tried to convince them that, like, look, it's not going to be dark. It's going to be completely silly and fun. And so we had to convince them to let us shoot that. We shot that on one of the last days. And, you know, it turned out being the scene that everybody loved the most in the movie.
Yeah.
you got to really explain to the actors what you're going for so that they feel comfortable and get into sort of like the humor of it, you know? And just have fun with it because it's got to be just completely unleashed and crazy. And if they don't understand quite what you're going for, it's going to be really difficult for them. When the second movie rolls around, you know, Amy was just like, okay, what are we doing? I know it's going to be completely wrong and ridiculous, but what do you want me to do this time? I said, well, this time we're going to do kind of the same thing, but rolling around in horse manure on her. Okay, all right, great.
Was that actual horse manure?
Yeah, I mean, we put down some soil over the track. It was supposed to be like our cleaner dirt, but you saw they got all over the place, you know. So
yeah, there's no coming back from that.
no.
Now, I've got 1 hour to settle the score. Say goodbye to my girl and go out with a little style.
They had great chemistry. I mean, Jason had a big crush on Amy. You could tell. He was just, he just threw on the charm whenever she was in the room. And Jason was all cocaine energy, and then she was all pot energy. So it was like cocaine and pot, like smashing against each other.
My name is Jeff Chelios, and today I didn't die.
And what differences did you find between the first and the second movie in terms of production or the approach that you have for the story or the way that you shoot the movie?
Well, the second movie is the one to me. I mean, for me, Crank 2 that's the one. You know.
Yeah.
Crank 1 is cool. It's got some good scenes in it and everything, but Crank 2 is the one where we really went there. And it was Quentin Tarantino called Crank 2 the Gremlins 2 of action movies.
I didn't pick.
So that kind of, that was the attitude. It's like it's kind of a sequel, but really it's more just an opportunity to take everything we did in the first movie and make it 10 times weirder.
Just me. Nice.
And the shooting was much different too. Like in the first Crank movie, we shot on, big news ENG style HD cameras that were tethered to a big, sort of like a mothership that the technician is looking at all the HD was really new.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
It was like, man, you need all this gear to shoot HD and blah blah blah. We knew that was not the case. But so it actually, in ways, was really challenging shooting the first movie and doing the kind of stuff we wanted to do. So when the second one rolled around, I just said, so Crank 2, I said, we want to shoot this on literally like prosumer cameras that you can buy from, just go down and buy them at the store. These little they were like $2,500 Canon camcorders with fixed lenses. And we just had like screw-on telephoto and a screw-on wide angle.
Yeah.
You can't shoot a feature film on that. We can and we will. So we did the test, modified all the internal settings of the camera in ways that the digital technicians all thought was horrible. Shot it, colored it, filmed it out. It looked awesome. And when that trailer hit the theaters, I remember seeing the trailer for Crank 2. That thing popped off the screen more than any of the movies that were shot on 35. It just looked better. There was no denying it. It looked better. But it just looked different and it looked good. We shot about 270 hours of footage. That was more than they shot on Titanic.
Yeah.
On Crank 2. And the editors loved it. They had a ton to work with. But we were just always rolling. We'd break a camera, run it over with a car, send somebody to go buy another camera.
There's a third movie that you always discuss. Is that coming? Is that a possibility?
I don't know.
You never
it's not
know.
in the works.
Yeah.
It's not in the works. You never know. but it's not something we're planning right now. I mean, we have some ideas of what to do with sort of like the Crank cinematic universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got some ideas, but there's nothing like ready to announce or come out with.